Well, Kelly, I am so excited to welcome you to the Red Chair podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Genevra. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to unpack a little bit of your story for everyone to know the Kelly that I know and
Okay.
to share some of who you are, to feature and highlight not just a top agent here in Kansas City. Of course, you've done 20 plus million, been in business over 20 years, and you've just done some incredible things. But tell us a little bit about Kelly before real estate.
All right. Well, I'm originally from St. Louis. I was born and raised in St. Louis, and then I moved to Kansas City when in 95. So I was 22 years old and moved to Kansas City. So I am a native St. Louis person. I had a big family there. So I had an amazing mom who also moved to Kansas City and worked with me here for a short period of time. But I also had an amazing grandmother that I spent a lot of time with. She actually lived 3 houses away from me when I was a teenager. So I did get to spend a lot of time with her. But my grandmother was one of the first women in St. Louis that ran a factory. She worked for Killard Electric. And then my mom was also a lot like my grandmother. She was very strong.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could say something about the both of them, is they were very strong women, completely different personalities, but both had the same work ethic and strong belief system that they instilled in me. And so it was interesting as a kid, I would go see my grandma working down at the plant, and she would be in her big office with the big windows and the marble all over the place and her cigarette and her big ashtray, and she would run her plant. And then, she would come home and be grandma. So that was a
Wow.
really interesting dynamic to see when I was younger because you didn't see a lot of women in that role. So she had a really supportive boss who believed in her and gave her the opportunity to run the plant. And so that instilled, I think, a strong work ethic with having those two as my major role models in life. And so, anyway, I went to high school, was not never went on to college. I barely graduated high school. I got kicked out actually, and I did graduate, but school was never anything that I just couldn't sit. I
Mhm.
just had a really hard time sitting in a desk. So I love to learn hands on, and so that's kind of that's always how I've done it. Is just kind of jump in feet first and work hard and see where you end up. So that's kind of a little bit of my backstory.
I love that, and I mean, to have that strong female leadership
Mhm.
early on that really showed you what it was like or gave you that example, like, women can be successful in business, and you saw firsthand with grandma,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And my mom, when I was, older, she had a cleaning business, but my dad didn't want her working. It was really, it was just kind of like extra money, and it grew, and it took away from her, I mean, this stereotypical, the wife stays home and takes care of the family. That's what my dad wanted.
Right.
And my mom had that spirit to do more and, ended up, uh, having a huge cleaning company. And so I think we've always, like, through the generations have had that spirit to really lead and to do more and create. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Kelly, how did you find your way into real estate? What was that catalyst for you?
Yeah, so I had been in Kansas City, for I wanna say, like, 8 years, and the company that I worked for got bought out a couple different times, and I just felt like it was time for me to move on. It was a very small mom and pop organization, and it became very corporate, and so someone had suggested that I would be good in real estate, so I thought, "You know what? I'm gonna give myself 2 years to make it," because that's what I was told. It's like, "You
Yeah.
really need 2 years," so I made sure I had enough money and I was in a situation, and thankfully I could, just wasn't sure what I was gonna make because I did have a really good job. I made 6 figures, I had an expense account, I had lots of allowances for travel, and I gave all that up to make absolutely nothing. So, my first year of real estate, I made $24,000, and the second year, I doubled it and made 48. So and then after that, it kind of I did well. I made around 75 the year after that, and then I got into the business in '05, so that put us in '08, and we all know what happened
Oh, boy.
then. So, like, things really took, a big, change in real estate. So, I remember I worked for 3 months, made no money.
Mm.
Like, all my closings I had lined up, everything I had lined up and ready to go, nothing would close. They changed the credit score. They increased the credit score. So if you had, like, I was a newer agent, so I had a lot of, like, lower dollar properties, that I had under contract, and I couldn't get any of 'em closed because all the lending
Oh
what
my
was required
gosh.
changed. So I wasn't really sure what I was gonna do, but luckily, I was able to figure it out and was able to stay in the business and then just kept going from there. So,
When did it feel like you knew that you had you had built a successful business? When did that kind of click for
I'm
you?
still I don't know. Every year I say to myself, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna have such a great year as I did this last year." It's funny, like, it's sometimes you feel like an imposter.
Mm.
I've always had imposter syndrome, but every year I wonder, "Oh my gosh," I kinda have a freak out for a minute, and when I look back and see everything I accomplished, I'm like, "How did I do that?" And it's interesting because every year it's a little less it's more effortless, I should
Mm.
say. And so every year it gets a little easier. So now then I feel like I'm not doing enough because it needs to be harder, right?
Right,
It doesn't.
right.
It's okay to make more money and to work less and to enjoy your life. But I think, growing up, I always thought you had to, again, with my mom and my grandma, I thought you had to work really hard in order to be successful. And so I equated that with I had to work all the time. So now I work less, but I still kind of feel like there's so much more I could do. But I will say the one thing that really changed my career financially
Mhm.
is I went to ninja selling with
Yeah.
Larry Kendall.
Yep.
I've been out to Colorado, I want to say 4 times, but the first time I went out there really changed the way I thought about my business and made me really understand that I was running a business. Before
Yep.
I was just kind of he called it an accidental agent, right?
Mm.
Because there was so much business that you didn't really have to run your business like a business. And so when I went out and did his installation, that's really what I think changed my business. I understood what, working with people like, and trust instead of trying to buy internet leads and
Yes.
really building my database and just putting all those processes and systems into place really changed how I was a lot more intentional
Right.
because I would get up every day and go to work. Even yeah, I would go into the office even if I had nothing to do. Because back then, all the agents you would do floor time, and so you would block out like 2 hours a day. You had to answer the phone, and you would hopefully pick up buyers from phone calls and things like that. So, I had good habits,
Right.
but I needed some help,
Mhm.
and so that is when I think I became a lot more intentional and really when, my business started doing a lot better because I had systems now. So
It's so interesting when you create those systems and then you treat, like you said, your business like a business. It's amazing what can happen when you streamline that in that way.
absolutely. It was so impactful. I've been out there, I wanna say 4 times, and I still watch his videos every week.
Yeah.
So it's, you find something that resonates with you and to stick with it and just be consistent.
Mhm.
And I think because of that, that's why I have had the success I've had over the years. So
Yeah, and you've developed those consistent habits
yeah,
that you know how to implement daily.
yeah. And it's when you have systems, it's just so much easier. You don't have to think
Right.
about what's going to happen next because you already know what's going to happen next. I know that Bree's going to send an email out explaining to the buyer how to deposit earnest money. I don't have to think about making sure those things happen. And I know, just having systems is just so important. I'm not always, waking up in the middle of the night thinking about what I didn't do that day.
Yeah.
So it just changes everything, really.
Well, I wanna focus on, one of your big goals I know you had in 2024,
Mhm.
even into 2025, was taking time off for
Yeah.
yourself.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some of those things that you accomplished and you did, like, in terms of having time away for you and your group of friends.
One of the things that I'm really most proud of is a couple years ago, I took 3 months off.
Yeah.
So, to be able to do and I think we did 24 million that year.
Yeah.
So, that was I didn't know if I could do it. Now, did I have to take phone calls? Did I have to look at emails? Yeah, absolutely. But it was, it was really awesome to sell a house while I'm looking at a waterfall in Costa Rica. Like that can happen if
Yeah.
you have systems set up and you have things, if people, the right people in place. So yeah, travel is really one of my whys. There's a couple of
Mhm.
whys I have, but I think that there's a lot to be learned understanding other people, other cultures, and traveling just makes you just a more well-rounded person, so
Yeah, and to kinda get out of that day to
yeah.
day, and when you're traveling, I know you did some big trips last
Yeah.
year. Talk to us a little bit about some of your favorite experiences.
Well, I've done a lot of, different traveling. I've done last year was we did a lot last year. I did a 2-week European vacation with 3 other, girlfriends of mine. And we went to Munich, Vienna, Prague, Croatia, and stayed on a little island called Hvar in Croatia. And we did see my first Formula One race in
Nice.
Austria, which was really cool. So that was a lot of fun. And so you have just being able to experience that was amazing. And then I do a group girls trip, a big group of girls. We go to Mexico every year. Can't wait until February the 10th. We leave again.
Nice.
So we're lining all that up. And then, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I've done so much. I usually go to Australia every other year because my goddaughter and my best friend live there. So I am planning a trip this year to go to Australia, and I think we might go over to Bali.
Wow.
And then my cousin is in Japan right now working. So in October, Japan is on the book. So I'm really excited about the upcoming travel. So some of probably my favorite trip that I've ever been on, and we've talked about this,
Yeah.
was my 50th birthday trip. So 9 of us, hiked the Inca Trail for my 50th, which was amazing. Like, you think about it's just I can't believe that people back then built such amazing infrastructure.
Yeah.
And also they knew the summer solstice, and they made sacrifice. They had like windows that the sun would only appear one time a year, and that was the summer solstice. And that, uh, the Incas, they did sacrifice that time of year to the gods.
Sure.
And so you're just like, it's just such an interesting and amazing time. And we're hiking, over 13,000 feet up on a mountain, and they built pathways, and they didn't have metal back then, they didn't have steel
Sure.
to make these little squares that we were walking on. So and they're still perfectly laid out. It's just amazing, and you can still feel their presence there because it's everywhere. So it was the one of the hardest things I've ever done physically in my life, and there were times that I was like, "I need a satellite phone and a helicopter on call at all times," but it was like, we got each other through it.
Yeah.
And at different times, there was one of us was struggling,
Mm.
but we all held each other up. So it was very special. You could feel it, and it just felt different there. So that was my favorite trip so far.
Oh,
So
no, that sounds so
yeah,
powerful, and to
it was
just get to experience it with people you care about and the relationships that they built with each other.
yeah. And I was telling you that those weren't all out of the same friend group. So they were
Yeah.
different friends from different stages in life. One was a friend from high school. One is my business partner and his fiance. One was a friend that I have been friends with for 20 years. One was friends with for 10 years. But everybody came together, and it was just the bonds that they formed with each other really was very special to me. So,
Who did you feel like you became at the end of the when you got to the top, Kelly, like,
oh
in
gosh,
reflecting
I
back?
was like, thank God.
Yeah, how did you feel like it changed you, or how did you feel like you became different from that experience?
Um, I so, when you're left alone sometimes because 'cause you're on the trail, right? And
Yeah.
so they have someone that we had a Sherpa that was in front of us and one behind us, and we all went at different paces, right? And sometimes you're towards the front and sometimes you're towards the back. And really, when you're struggling, the self-talk that you can do to yourself is not always good, right? Like,
Right.
"Why are my friends walking so far in front of me? Can't they see I'm struggling?"
Mm.
And, like, it's just the things that we create in our own minds. It really made me kind of laugh at myself and be like, "Girl, like, why would you do that to yourself? Why do you think, like, why would you put that on you and your friends? Like, your friends are here, they love you." And so when I felt just so much more like I felt like joy and so appreciative that these people would do this with me.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I just felt like almost like something's been lifted from me, like something that and it's really your own it was me.
Yeah.
Like, I kinda was lifted from myself in a sense, like, I just felt like I could do anything and that I just felt so loved.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Get teary-eyed, think about it, and it's been 3 years, but it's just that special,
Yeah.
so
And to come to that, like, it takes that, like, inner struggle and that physical struggle,
yeah.
and then you hear the stories and your own thoughts
Yes.
that are telling you lies, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then it's almost like that environment shone such this spotlight
Mhm.
on that reality, and you're like, "No, these people came to celebrate
Yeah.
me."
So, towards the end of the trail, you have
Mm.
to climb, and these stones that, like, you to get to the top of the Sun Gate, and when you get to the top of the Sun Gate, that's when you see, like, all the pictures of, like, Machu Picchu and, like, all the pretty pictures. That's what you see when you get up there. And so we're beat. We're days and days out on this trail. It's 27 miles, 3 mountain ridges. It's intense. And you're literally climbing. You get to the top of the Sun Gate, and you just see this beautiful, beautiful scenery, and it just I mean, I wish everyone could feel that because it was just, like, something that was it just felt lighter.
Wow.
So, it was really special.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I know for you, Kelly, like, a big part of who you are is, like, your inner self is really important, and,
Mhm.
like, taking that time for Kelly and
Yeah.
peace, and part of I know from our conversations, like, your experiences in your travel resonate with those things that are important to you. Tell us a little bit about that behind the curtain, like, who's Kelly internally?
Oh gosh, that's really hard because it depends.
Yeah.
I feel like who I was in my 20s and my 30s and my
Mm.
40s and my 50s and who I hope to be in my 60s are all a better version of myself. I think that gosh, it's just so hard because when I'm at work, I feel like I'm one person, right? And when I'm out, I feel like I'm someone else. And so at work, I'm always like in charge. Let's figure stuff out. And when I get out of work, I still actually am that way, even though I pretend I'm not. I am. But I like to think that I'm a lighter,
Mm.
like Kelly Light, like a lighter version of that because I'm sure it can be a little intense sometimes. But, I travel just makes me appreciate what I have
Mm.
because a lot of times in travel, you see what people don't have.
Yeah.
You see
That's right.
the lack of infrastructure in their countries, of education, clothing, food, all of that. So travel also reminds me of how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
So it's something that I really I treasure and I feel like it just makes me a better person.
Mhm.
So
And I know, one of the things I appreciate about you is just how I think one of the things you told me once is how important it is for you when you walk into a space and how it's almost like that doorway I think we talked about.
mhm.
And when you walk through it, you have that decision. Who am I going to walk in as and
Yeah.
who am I going to walk out as?
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite pieces of you is yes, you are this strong, successful businesswoman, and you're also this very deep well. Like, you're a deep soul, and you have just a love and appreciation for simplicity, for peace, for things resonating with you, and that almost like we were talking about, like, that law of attraction,
Yeah.
that you know that good things come when you show up
Yeah.
the right way.
I think I had chaos going on in my life for so long,
Yeah.
and it was so exhausting, and it was so hard that once you get to a place and you work on yourself and you work on a lot. There's a lot to unpack. We all have a lot to unpack. You start finding it so much easier to be kind to yourself, to be kind to other people. And I've always thought having a tough exterior is what when I was younger, and even as, like, a newer agent, I really don't think I was a very good co-op agent. I was probably not the nicest person. I thought that I had to like, my idea of strength probably wasn't healthy, honestly, like, it wasn't very nice, I'm sure. It was, very competitive, and I needed to win.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
like, you learn that as you grow, and now I'm like I look at that and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I was a terror, I'm sure." Like, I can't even imagine.
Kelly the Bulldog.
Oh, right, yeah, seriously, it's I'm sure. But, over time, you learn that being kind and caring and compassionate is so much easier,
Mm,
and you sleep better at night, and you feel better, and you can still be strong and be a pillar of strength, and it's not meaning that you're being difficult, you're just having a set of s holding yourself to a set of standards.
yeah.
So I'm still very strong in my personality, but I also too one of the things that I struggle with is because I care so much that I do tend to build a wall because I can't handle it. Like, I
Mm,
can't handle I care so much that it's almost unhealthy. So I
you
have
feel it so deeply.
yes,
Yeah.
I feel it in
Yes.
my bones.
Mm,
And so if you know me, you know me.
yeah.
But if you don't, you might look at me and think, "Oh, okay." You know? But I've had to that is kind of my defense, like, that's how I protect myself.
Mm,
And so that's probably one of my biggest struggles is really to let people totally in, because when I let you in, I'm gonna, like, love you very hard and deep, and I'm with you till the
yeah,
bitter end, and that takes a lot of energy. And so I am very particular on where I spend that energy.
yeah.
So, but
And it's that level of vulnerability,
oh my
when you
gosh, it's huge.
when you offer it, and I know just what I know about you, like, your circle of friends is so tight because you've let them in.
Yeah. But there were many people that I let in that I shouldn't have, right?
Sure.
So, like, you learn a lot of lessons as you grow, and,
Right?
I always joke around, that I'm just, I'm a bad picker when it comes to relationships, like, I just
And it's because you love so deep, you know? You feel so deep, you care, you got that big heart. Kelly, I know one of the things that's really important to you is, your family, giving back, and sharing, like, the things that you have out there with the community. Tell me a little bit about, like, this next stage of your life, how giving back, whether it's, with your time or money, resources, what does that look like for you now?
now that I have always had money in the last, like, years, but I haven't had a lot of time.
Mm,
So I would really give monetarily, and I'd like to see myself like, more in the community and not just giving money. Like, I want to spend more time like, we had Center of Grace as our charity partner
yeah.
for November, December, and, like, spending time in their clothing pantry and going through the clothes and hanging clothes up, like, little things like that, like, giving back, not just with money, because I wanna be more hands-on. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like, but that brings me joy. And, I think about all the people. Like, I feel so fortunate, like, I'm so fortunate to have, like, the parents that I had and the family that I've had, and not everyone has that,
Yeah.
and I was so lucky that no, I don't wanna say lucky because I don't believe in luck, because I believe you put yourself in places and you make things happen for yourself. But I was very fortunate to have people who believed in me, whether it be with work, like I said, like, school was not my thing. I did not know what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. When I graduated, I went to college, but I didn't stay, and then I was gonna be a nurse, and I literally had my hand on the door of the college with the check in my hand to be a nurse, and I just turned around, I walked away, and I went home, and I gave the check to my mom, and I was like, "I'm gonna save you a lot of money right now." And so she always supported that decision,
Yeah.
and she never shamed me for not going to school or made me feel bad about what I was doing. She always believed in me.
Mm,
And she always like, even investing, like, I couldn't like, getting into investing, she helped me get into investing. And it was her belief and her faith in me that led me to where I am today. And
yeah.
like, we have, a lot of rental homes and flips going on and stuff going on right now, but I couldn't have done it without her.
Sure.
But not everybody has that,
Mhm.
So what can I do to help lift someone up?
Right.
So that's really, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And I'm figuring it out more and more because I have more time on my hands.
Mm,
But, and we are still doing a lot of really great business. It's just, we're just working smarter, not harder. So, yeah. And also, I do, at some point, I will kind of like cut back production so I can have more time to do.
for sure. One of my favorite sayings is when you drink the water, don't forget who dug the well.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, your family had really given you the ability to do some of those things.
Yeah.
And what I hear from you is who can you dig that well for?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
How
That's a
do
really great way to put it.
how do you show up for those people? And I know even here in our office, you're such a person that's willing to jump in, to mentor, to share your experience, and that's something that, shows up weekly for you
Yeah.
in some way or another.
I don't even say mentor because I don't feel that way, but I do meet with a couple agents and we, chat monthly and, like I can't imagine one of them was like, I'll pay to meet with you every month. And I'm like, no, let's just meet every month and chat because I had agents that did that
Mm,
for me. I'm not, like that like, I had so many really amazing people through my family, through different coaches, and, like, as far as, like, in school, I played sports. There's just so many different people along the
yeah,
way that has helped me and been very selfless, and so I can't wait to see what happens, so,
I love that.
yeah.
Kelly, how do you define success now for yourself?
Um, I mean, I would lie to you if I say I don't look at, like, my numbers and see where I land
Mhm.
every month, because I think that's just who I am. I like to say that it doesn't matter, but in some it does. One of my, like, biggest lessons I've had to learn in my life was what I do for a living is not who I am.
Yeah.
I thought that what I did, like, they were the same,
Mm.
right? But they're different. I mean, they cross over, right? But they're different, like and so the way that I measure really is I look at it from 2 different sides. Like, I look at our production and stuff, but also I look at it like, what have I given back? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's and I don't know how do you measure being kind?
Mm.
How do you
So
measure
true.
being a good friend?
Mhm.
So it's hard for me to say because those are the things that are important to me, and I don't know how you measure that.
Yeah.
And I guess, like the sum of the people around you,
Mhm.
and so I always check myself because the people who I'm the closest to, they're going to be really freaking awesome people because that's what I want to be. I want, and I like people from all different walks of life. Like I look at my friends as like they're my board of directors in life, So
Yeah.
to me it's like who sits on my board of directors is kind of a measure of that because it's a measure of who I am that they want to spend that time with me and on me,
Yeah, and
vice
and
versa.
and who's influencing you,
Yeah, yeah,
Like, whose voice is in your head and whose actions.
yeah.
One of my favorite books is called The Tribe of Millionaires, and
Mhm,
it talks about how you're the exact average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in
mhm.
every category.
Yeah.
Your faith, your health,
Interest
I mean, your finances,
Mhm.
and you really are, like you mentioned, like, it's not just one thing,
Yeah.
it's all things.
It's a whole enchilada. Yeah.
It really is.
The
Well, Kelly, I wanna just kinda wrap us up a little bit. What advice would you give someone who might be kinda where you were when you
Mhm.
first started? They're doing the next deal, they're in the grind, they're struggling to do the next thing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them? I know you talked about building a business.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different than when I got in the business.
Mhm.
It's really changed a lot. The one thing that I think is most important before you get into the business is to make sure that you can stay in the business. To make sure that you have the financial security before you get into real estate is going to give you a big leg up in being in the industry. Because if you can't support yourself, and then what are you gonna do? I mean,
Yeah.
80% of the agents don't make it. So
Okay.
I think there needs to be something a different way for agents to get into the business. And I
Yeah.
think things should be different. I don't know exactly what that looks like because it's hard because we're, commission
Sure.
based, right? We're all self-employed. So I would say one of the most important things is align yourself with a good broker.
Yeah.
Find agents that are where you are because you can have good partnerships with those agents to hold each other accountable instead of you might not have money for a coach. Well, you have money for accountability partners, right? That's free. That helped me a lot in my business because I didn't have the money for a coach. So there were agents that were getting into the business at the same time, and we held each other accountable. And I would, like, make a plan and stick with it. Be consistent, show up every day. Surround yourself by the people you want to be like. Like, I saw other agents that were really successful, so I would, like, hang out around them.
Yeah.
Back in those days, like, the office was really open, and so you could hear people talking, like, we had cubicles. There was just cubicles everywhere, and I would sit and listen to those agents talk, like, "Find someone like me, find me and talk to me." 'Cause I will, like, I will help you, through it. Like, find someone who really wants to, like, invest in people.
Mhm.
Like, the one thing about this office that I love is that you guys invest in the agents. So, I think finding a good brokerage is probably one of the most important things that has those tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, if anybody wants to find you, reach out to
Yeah.
you, connect with you, what's the best place to get best way to get in touch with you or find you on social media?
So, we're actually redoing our Instagram right now. So, our Instagram is Keep Moving Casey.
Keep Money Casey.
And then, but if you wanna get a hold of me, the best way is to call me.
Yep.
The old-fashioned way.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for your time, for your heart, for who you are, for sharing a little bit of behind the curtain
Uh-huh.
with us and
Yeah.
all of us
I
today.
appreciate your time too, Genevra. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you.